Friday, Ghostlings, and welcome back to our weekly vlog series. I missed you this week. I hope you missed me too. We're going to get right into the Red Ghost story this week because it is a long one. This story comes from BBZ Connect. They say, the story that made me believe in the paranormal. If there's any non-believers in the comment section, Ghostlings, let me know if this story changed your mind. Hello. Ghostling greetings. I want to share a story that has been bothering me for about 10 years already. To this day, I still can't properly explain what exactly we saw back then. When I was 11 years old, I went to visit my grandmother in a village in western Ukraine. My grandmother had her own garden, flower beds, and she loved flowers very much. I'd hope so, Ghostlings, if she had a garden and flower beds, seems implied. It was early spring then, the season of snowdrops, and she asked me, that was a nice line, and she asked me to go to the forest and pick some flowers for her, like Princess Aurora in Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty met her true love. Will this narrator also meet their true love? My older sister went with me. She was 19 years old at that time. To get to the forest, we had to walk across a huge field that went steeply uphill. Ghostlings, hills are the enemies of people who enjoy walking places. Ghostlings, I have fallen up too many hills to count and have died on two. I mean, never died once. But if I did, twice on a hill. At the top, you could already see the forest. Before the field, we passed several residential houses standing almost separately from the rest of the village. And then, an abandoned military base. Oh, Ghostlings, abandoned military? Lots of spooky things can live there. That's where I was found. After it, the climb to the forest began. The base itself looked creepy. Of course it did, Ghostlings. Military bases are not supposed to say friendly pink rainbows. It's dark, it's gray, and it says, "Do not enter here." Concrete rust, absolute silence all around. We climbed around there a bit, messed around, and went further into the forest for snow drops. But there was something else strange. Right in the middle of that slope, there was a hill, almost sticking out from the hillside, and in the center of the hill grew 3 huge oak trees, positioned in an almost perfect triangle. Even back then, the place gave off some unpleasant feeling. Ghostlings, trees that grow in a perfect triangle are aesthetically pleasing. But there is nothing supernatural about that. Different shapes, like an irregular parallelogram, which I know only because of all the ghosts it summons, is far creepier than the triangle. We picked a full basket of snowdrops. How big are these baskets? How many snowdrops did you get that day? We were walking down through the field, and I noticed that everywhere on the ground there were little clumps of hay or straw lying around. Like a kid, I started stepping on them for fun. Didn't you do that as a child, Ghostlings? That feels like a weird hobby. But anyway, my sister immediately said, "Don't step on them or you might wake something." What? How would that make sense? A clump of hay? Is hay loud when you step on it? It's been a while since I stepped on hay, Ghostlings. I didn't really pay attention to it. We walked a little further downhill, and suddenly I got a very strange feeling, like someone was watching us from behind. I don't know why, but I suddenly really wanted to turn around. Ghostlings' first mistake. If you want to turn around, that is not a good feeling. You should be afraid to turn around at all times. I turned back toward the hill with the 3 oak trees, and then I saw it. Right between the trees, there was a figure floating, not standing. I read it, Ghostlings. I know what it said. It looked like a woman in a long white dress. Long black hair completely covered her face. At that moment, it reminded me of the girl from The Ring. Ghostlings, that's a good ghost movie. Watch Ringu, the original. The creepiest part was that she didn't seem to touch the ground. That was because she is floating, as you described. She was just hanging in the air. Sometimes people just hang out in the air, Ghostlings. They're not ghosts. They're just floating. At first, I froze and blinked several times, Ghostlings. The default reaction is to go, and the ghost is still there? It's gonna think you're flirting with it, so beware. But the figure didn't disappear. Then, without taking my eyes off it, I suddenly grabbed my sister and told her to look there. This is a great idea, Ghostlings. If you're going to be cursed, get your sister to be cursed with you. I will never forget her face at that moment. Her eyes became large, her pupils widened. I couldn't even tell whether it was more shock or animal fear. I was holding her hand, and her hand started shaking. She whispered, "Run!" After that, we took off running downhill across the field like crazy. While running, I turned around one more time. mistake to check if it was following us. There was already nothing there. From the moment we started running, only a few seconds had passed. The figure had completely disappeared. We stopped only about a kilometer later. While running, we lost almost all of the flowers. Of course, Grandma's not going to be happy with this outcome. When we were told by our grandmother what had happened, she replied that during World War II, near those 3 oak trees, the Germans allegedly tortured and executed Jewish people and Ukrainians. Dang, Ghostlings. Stranger thing is that years later, I started hearing very similar stories from other people. Sounds like it might be a folk tale. Perhaps. One of my female friends told me that while staying with her parents at a country house near a forest, she went out onto the balcony at night and saw in the distance the exact same silhouette, a woman with long hair and white clothes who seemed not to walk but to float through the trees deeper into the forest. To this day, I still don't know what it was. Some people say a banshee, definitely not Ghostlings, others a witch, others restless souls, or some kind of unclean energy, but that feeling of terror and the atmosphere of that place stayed with me for the rest of my life. Maybe someone has experienced something similar. One person commented, demon. And the person said, thanks for your answer, why demon? It is not a demon! Oh, Ghostlings. I enjoyed this story, I have to say, but I do have some questions. I don't think long-haired Ringu-type creatures are super common outside of Japan, is usually associated with yokai. Now, I don't know Ukrainian ghost stories too well, but if you are Ukrainian, please comment below. I don't believe that kind of ghost appears in the mythos at all. But if it does, I apologize now. However, Ghostlings, this is definitely not a banshee. This is definitely not a witch. Because the witches I have met would not stand in the forest. Witches I know have money. Ghostlings, the last thing they're going to do is hang out in an unair-conditioned forest in a triangle. An irregular parallelogram? 100% Ghostlings. But a forest with 3 trees? Never. I probably just watched Ringu or The Ring, and their mind was just playing tricks on them. Ghostlings, I think they saw something. I don't know if I believe this ghost story, Ghostlings. It's very interesting, I will say, and I'm glad we got some Ukrainian spooky stories, but I'm not believing this. What do you think, Ghostlings? Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you have your own ghost story, be sure to leave it in the comments below or on Reddit. And I will see you back here for more Reddit ghost stories. Farewell!